before we came on, we were talking about the thing that the world, the entire world, the entire world is talking about, and that's dual carrier ops.
Yep.
There's not a place on the planet where people are not noticing the fact that John C. Stennis has made their way from the West Coast through 3rd Fleet and through 7th Fleet through the Indian Ocean, a bit of a time in the Persian Gulf, made their way beyond the Bab el-Mandeb Straits and the internationally recognized corridor, made their way through the canal and into the precious waters of the Levant, the Eastern Mediterranean, and now operating in proximity to Abraham Lincoln as they are making their way on deployment. The whole world is talking about what's going on here in this theater, as they should have been for the last 24 months, because business is a booming, cousin, and we have not delayed or brought down the measure of excellence as we have stood to watch. And that's pretty darn exciting.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty darn exciting. I had the opportunity to meet Ambassador Huntsman, who's the U.S. ambassador to Russia, and Admiral Fogo, myself, and a small team made our way out to visit Abraham Lincoln. We'll talk about that in a minute, but the fact that there are 2 carriers here is a big deal. What we know is, we talk about it very frequently, but what the world is beginning to see is that we are executing rehearsals for the high-end fight, and we are advancing our interoperability, with key allies, partners, and nation partners, and friends, and it's exciting to me. It feels good when we have the opportunity to work with our nation partners, and they're fully competent. There's a Spanish ship that is on deployment, not just working in proximity, but on deployment with Abe Lincoln. And so to work with competent nation partners at sea, rehearsing the high-end fight, feels really good.
Oh, yeah.
So it's exciting to see some language that the listening audience, and perhaps those who might be watching on the internet, are familiar with, is that we always count the tonnage, and I'm not sure who started that, if it was the logisticians at CTF 63 or whomever it was, but the fact of the matter is, right now, as very well stated by Ambassador Huntsman on CNN, by the way, because they traveled with us as well, is that we've got 200,000 tons of maritime steel operating right now, in coordination, and so the world knows what's going on, and not just what's going on. They understand our lethality in a peaceful environment. And every now and then, that's important to know. What I noticed, and I just did not know, because sometimes you're just a product of your environment and what you read, right? In the environment I had been in and the things that I had read, I did not realize that U.S. 6th Fleet was able to influence the exercises and the preparations of those ships. And so as the resurgence of Russia began, it was wisely decided that 6th Fleet would be the coordinators or the requesters. I'm not sure exactly the process in and of itself, but reached back to Norfolk, if I could just use that as a general place, and the commands that are there, said, hey, we need to be increasing our proficiency in these things. And so we changed some of the training that folks got on their way over. Days gone by, when I was younger in the Long War, everyone trained for Iraq, Afghanistan. All the Marines trained for ground pounding in a desert environment, or in the upper elevations of Afghanistan. What we realized, especially with the resurgence of Russia, we needed to change some of that training, and we have. And what we are seeing now is the benefit of that changed perspective when it comes down to training and preparation. And so as they're making their way into this theater, they're able to get after it. And thankfully, because of our posture with NATO and nation training, that we're able to ensure that our peers, our partners, and allies and friends are trained up as well. And so, U.S. 6th Fleet exercises, or they participate in approximately 70 exercises a year, and we do that so that we can learn techniques from our partners. They can learn from us, and then together we just get better at it. Under Admiral Fogo's leadership too, because just speaking about relationships, right? Our interoperability and relevant relationships, friendships, I would say, with nations in our theater is kind of effortless. When we see what right looks like, then you can execute what right looks like. And he has a strangely natural ability with the appropriate amount of formality for the occasion. But I've seen, how it ought to be done. The ease with which he is able to communicate with the chods and mods that he interacts with is something that makes it easy for the rest of us as well. I mean, once I saw the way that he interacted, I was like, okay, I can kind of add that to my repertoire. And as the folks that are traveling with him, whether it be the Commander's Action Group with Commander Dale and Commander Beer, that are with him pretty much everywhere he goes, we all, have the opportunity to learn and see some things that have an impact on the confidence that the diplomacy that's getting done is going to be something that's useful. And it's one thing that you've seen something right, and that's kind of it. When Admiral Fogo came back out here, I used to describe the way he was meeting people, kind of like a like a person walking into a club, you know what I mean? And you see, all your friends are there. And to me, a club is more like a discotheque, but let's just use the Cheers model.
Sure.
You walk into the bar, and everybody goes, hey, Nora. But for him, because of the diversity of the people that he's meeting, it's more like walking through a club, disco ball going, Beyonce fan, blowing his hair, and he's just pointing people down like, hey, how you been? And folks
finger guns.
Yeah, people just going out of their way trying to, come and shake his hand and say hello. But the measure of nobility with which he treats other people is very, very much so admirable. And it is, it's something to see. But it's not just the style, it's the sincerity. And so to know, as we interacted with the Tunisians, that they fully trust his perspective, the measure of study that he puts into the labor, very frankly, of being the commander, is one that I just hope that everyone listening understands, that you should have a supreme level of confidence when it comes down to him. And then I would say, okay, with that measure of confidence, what are you doing? Are you doing your part within your particular profession? Every single rating, every single profession, every job that we do ultimately leads to lethality. And I challenge and encourage, implore you actually, to just do better. What an honor it was to make my way back out to my old ship. Back in 1993, I did a tour out there in EDP. That's the Electronic Data Processing Center. Different than the Automated Data Processing Center that I worked in on my old ship, on my first ship. But anyway, so yes, you had the chance to go out there. As I said, went out with Admiral Fogo, Ambassador Huntsman, the U.S. Ambassador to Russia, and spent a couple of hours out there. And I mean, it was jam-packed. The public affairs team on that ship, who was responsible for DV maneuvers, I mean, they smashed time into that. They smashed visits into that time frame that we were on board. That was just like a whirlwind. It felt good though. I got about 14,000 steps, by the way, according to my step counter.
Oh, there you go.
So it was
good measure.
It was a good day. So we flew out to the ship. Oh, by the way, so we had CNN with us. There's another reporter from AP News. His name is Matt. And so I sat down and I talked to them about, hey, here's what we're going to see, when you go out there. bring civilians on board a ship, oftentimes they just have no idea, except for what they've seen in the movie. So here's what you're going to see, this moving and this and that, and it's going to be loud, and there's going to be some subtle movements of the ship in and of itself, so be careful when you're walking around and so forth. I said, but you'll be dazzled, you will be dazzled by the machinery, but watch the people who are operating it. Mm-hmm. And I said, just take a look at it, and then we'll have a conversation once it's all over and see what you think. So went out there, and I had the opportunity to just make the rounds. So the Admiral and the news media folks and the Tunisians had a tour route, and of course I just jumped right off of that tour bus, hopped on the back of the scooter, the Vesper, driven by the CMC, and he and I just made our way, or the CAG CMC, and we just kind of made our way around. So started in V0, went through V0 to V3, right? So up in V0, up in the tower with Air Boston Mini, had a good visit with some sailors up there. Talked about striking for rates, and talking about how to go from an undesignated airman into one of the rates, and because I have spent my fair share of time with the ABs, I realized that there's really only 3 rates in the Navy: ABs, wannabes, and of course CMCs. But from their perspective, that is just life. And so there with them, went down to V1, talked with the handler on the Ouija board in flight deck control, and the warfighters that are down there. Couldn't talk too much because we had flight ops going on, but it was good just to kind of be down there and around
see what's going on.
them. Absolutely, and to let them know that I care, and I do. I care that, it's important that they know that they are worthy of a visit from the representative from the commander. So I popped in there for a little while and said hello and said thank you. Then I went down to EDP, where I used to work, in the intelligence function. CVIC is the Carrier Intelligence Center. So we went in there. As a matter of fact, that tour that I spent there at the E5, there's another E5, you might have heard of him, Russ Smith, we call him McMahon now, in the same division. So it was cool to go in there and share the fact that someone who had worked in that very same division, actually 2 of us, had moved on to do something special. So I just used that as a jump off point to be encouraged about what they do, because the work is hard and it's long. And opened up for questions, and we had some really good dialogue about some of the things that they can expect on deployment, especially as they operate in this theater, the importance of providing good data and ensuring that communications are working successfully, especially to those pilots that are going out on missions, and then to the processing of that very same intelligence that they bring back. And of course, as I've been there, they reminded me you can't drop bombs without comms, and so I agreed, and we kept on the tour route. From there, found out that Abraham Lincoln won the NAY Award. And so the NAY Award is the most prestigious award that a galley can receive. The galley doesn't do it alone. It's all of supply, puts in on that effort. And so I went down there. There's about 150 or so sailors down there. Interesting question and answer exchange with that group as well. And then they reminded me, of course, that you can't fly without supply. And so it was a good visit, very, very satisfying and fulfilling. The Command Master Chief's name is Jim Stedding, the CAG CMC, his name's Steve Allen. They've got a great relationship. I went up to the hangar bay and interacted with the Air Wing, and they also gave me the opportunity to have some Q&A with those folks and recognize some of the sailors that are operating at a really high level. One of the squadron CMCs, his name is Sam Rivera. He had a rock star that he introduced me to, and we had some good conversation there as well. So it was a very fulfilling visit. One thing I didn't realize about this job, because I've been an operational person for the preponderance of my career, I didn't realize how much diplomacy was going to be there with other nations. No idea of that. I thought, with actually a measure of hope, that my whole tour would be more like that trip on Tuesday. But it was certainly rewarding. Very, very happy for the opportunity to fly out on the COD, that is Carrier Onboard Delivery Aircraft, and catch the third wire, appropriately, which is kind of like fielder's choice, and then take that tour and then get catapulted off. It was good. Whenever there's opportunity to get the services together, we should do it. Oftentimes I talk about a noble competition, and I think that's important. It's healthy. When I look over at Commander Master Chief Johannes Gonzalez, who's a 6th Fleet CMC, just putting in work on the elliptical, I'm thinking, I wonder if I can get me some of that. When I see, and then he makes his way over to the weight room, and then there's a bit of a separation there, but
right.
I think to myself, I wonder how fast he's going. I wonder how many miles he's doing. Not that I want to necessarily compete against him, but I want to make sure that I'm not an embarrassment to him if I find myself on that gear, on that equipment. There are some environments where it's just straight up competition, and the football event, we had a flag football event this past coming up on Thanksgiving. The Navy won that. There was a warrior competition over JFC. By the way, the Navy won that. And now, there is an Olympic competition, and we shall see kind of who's who up in this camp. It comes down to those various competitions. What's fun about this, though, is that not only is it inter-service and commands and a large diversity of U.S. folks, but there's also some Italian teams. Back to the story in the beginning, there's some Italian teams that are going to come over and participate, and it is absolutely serious business to them. Again, competing against the United States,
right?
And so it should be a good time. I don't think that I'm going to have the opportunity to stay for the entire thing, but hopefully I'll be able to see a few events. My intention certainly is to make my way out there and cheer on the athletes as they perform.
What's your sport?
So I'm a track guy. I ran the quarter in high school and the short relays, the mile relay, the 1-lap relay, and the short relay, the 4x4. So I'm still all about it when it comes down to running. I have not uncommon for me to say to someone, "So you think you're faster than me? I mean, we can go right now." And I remember my son, probably should tell this story on the radio, but he's probably sleeping, not watching. I told my son one day, I was like, "Hey man, we can race." And we'd go down 2 mailboxes and we'd run back, and I'd just beat the brakes off of him. But he got older and he got taller, he got stronger, he got older, he got taller, he got stronger. He got older, he got taller, and he got stronger. And he says, "Hey Pops, and his voice is really strangely deep.
Right, yeah.
Hey Pops,
Exactly.
I'm like, when you start calling me Pops, I'm your dad, I'm your father. Okay Pops, I think I can get you. And Celeste, my youngest, who is graduating from high school this year, is like, "Cairo, no, don't do it." So we're taking that walk down to the mailboxes as we have for years and years, and then we race. But so anyway, running is my event. I still appreciate a good race, whether it be the 1.5 miles twice a year, even though I can exercise my right to waive it because I scored high enough to do that. By the way, the PRT scores have significantly increased. So we made a change to the physical readiness test standards when we decided that, hey, if you score an excellent or outstanding, you can opt to waive the next PRT. Now, you still have to get roped and choked if you're a big guy like me, or you just get on the scale and get off probably like you do. But you're still accountable for your BCA. But when it comes down to the actual PRT portion of it, you can waive it. Now, I thought to myself, who would want to waive doing the run or the exercise portion of it, which is fun? Who would want to waive doing that? Because it seems like it would be harder to do the next time. but it's just not true. So when we first made the shift, the percentage of folks increased to 11%, and the last report I heard, we're up to 13% increase in outstandings and excellence by sailors who are performing. One matrix that would be interesting to me is how many people actually take the wave, how many people actually wave the next one. Or is it, do you just want, to me, I just want the option.
Right.
To waving the PRT, I don't know. But the option to waive it if I want, I'm all about that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it is something that people can sort of strive for, and that might motivate them just that much more to do better on the next one.
Absolutely. Joel Rodriguez at CMC, he sends Command Master Chief. He sends out plenty of questions to me. Very strong questioning attitude. Really, really good leader. Relevant in social media, and he's waived from his PRT, but he still goes out there with his sailors and runs it, and still goes out and exercises and motivates them to score and do the best that they can. Because I believe that it's important that we do the best that we can at whatever our task is. And so whether it's on the job, whether you're a mechanic or you're working at the firehouse, or you're out on a ship someplace, or you're with the Seabees out in the dirt, subsurface warrior as a submariners, whatever it is that you do, you just do your best. And I believe that should be our standard. Our standard is to do the best that we can. And that should be spread across whatever it is that we do. And so if it is preparing for a rating exam, if it's actually executing our jobs, or if it's the PRT. So it's good to see a young leader out there, a known good, solid leader out there leading the way with his sailors. And so I appreciate Command Master Joe Rodriguez in a mighty way.
Yeah.